Oh, hello. In today's video, we're going to talk about the terrain layouts pack that was sent out to attendees of the Kill Team Operations Team event, which is happening at Warhammer World on Saturday. So myself, Mrs. Tabletop Impulse, and Zimbad are going up to the Kill Team tournament this upcoming weekend, and all the attendees were mailed out this PDF pack. Now, we're going to go through some of the things in the pack, and we're going to talk about it more generally. So the first thing I want to go through is the sets of terrain. They've kind of come up with 4 sets of terrain, and this is the part that I think is really interesting. So the first set is their Vertigo Terrain. So you can see here we have sort of 2 large buildings with roofs, 2 large buildings without roofs, 2 small walls, 3 medium walls, and 3 pipes. Interesting note for nerds is that they're the old pipes, they're not the pipes that usually come with the Vertigo stuff. Oh, and a crate. So I did a little bit of research, and this appears to be 2 sets of the set that you can buy on Games Workshop's website right now, which is called Battlezone Manufactorum Subcloister and Storage Fane. And then for half of the set, you don't put the floor in the large ruins, right? But you've got a third medium ruin. So you have to buy 3 boxes and just not use most of the third box if you want to recreate this exact set. There's no way of getting that medium ruin by itself that I can see. You also have a container and a sprue of old style pipes. You could probably use the new pipes without being much gameplay difference, but it's interesting to me that they've gone for the old style pipes, which, as discussed in the video about the terrain coming in the Nightman box, you currently can't buy those by themselves. So that is the Vertigo Set. Then we're on to the more familiar Octavia Set, and what we've done here is quite interesting. So just have a little look at it there. It is a full Octavia Set. You've got extra big piece of scramble terrain, and you have an extra long wall here. Yeah, so effectively what they've done is they've given you everything in the Octavia Set pictured here, plus an extra large scrap pile, an extra medium wall, and once again they've done this thing where half of these buildings have been assembled without their roofs. Now, when I built my Octarius, I was very much in 2 minds about whether I was going to put the roofs on, because I played at the first Kill Team event where they hadn't put the roofs on their Octarius. In the end, I did put the roofs on mine. I have come quite close to ripping them off again a few times. I guess I'd probably just put some barrels or things up there and say that you can't use them if I wanted to try these more competitive layouts. This is the easiest of the layouts that we've seen to actually acquire at home, because what you do is you buy the starter set. If you buy the starter set, you'll get the extra wall and the extra large scrap pile to go along with your Octavia set. Or if you have bought a copy of the Speed Freaks game back in the day, I believe you'd also get the wall and the large scrap pile that way. And the third set that they previewed was the Chalnath set. Now, this is an absolutely weird flex by Games Workshop. It is everything you get in the Chalnath box, plus a lot more stuff. So it breaks down like this. Who remembers a 40k expansion called Urban Conquest? Basically, nobody I know bought it. It was an expansion geared towards map-based campaign play. And in that expansion, there was a random sprue of terrain. And in that sprue of terrain, we find this piece of terrain here, which, if you go back in the video and look at the previous slide, is the piece of scramble terrain that they've found to put on their Chalnath table. And then they've also put in the really cool statue pieces from the Imperialis Basilicanum, which is out of print, and so there's currently no way to pick up those sprues as well. So if you wanted to try and pick these things up to mirror their terrain packs, good luck. Oh, they've also included the Sisters of Battle faction terrain. That's the big building in the centre that they added, and the big angel. Happily, that you can at least go out and buy. I've already got one because I'm a Sisters player. I've got the Chalnath terrain, but if I wanted to emulate this set, I would have to find those statues and that piece of scramble terrain. And that's it. They did put in a fourth slide, but it was just saying that essentially they'd redacted a section of the terrain. They weren't showing us one of the terrain sets. I guess that's going to be Sector Mechanicum terrain, right? From the Nachman set. I don't know why they felt the need to redact that, because we've seen it on the Warhammer community website, so we know that's the terrain coming in Nachman. But there's a couple of things to unpick here. First of all, I think this will be a really cool... I should say, the document goes on to show all 30 of the table layouts they're going to be using at the event. If that is interesting to you, I will put a link to the document in the description down below. I kind of felt like having a slideshow where you went through and looked at 30 different table layouts for an event that you probably weren't going to, and listened to someone say what they thought about each layout, might get a little bit like, this is the Telegraph poll picture that I took, you know, on this day, and this is the Telegraph poll picture that I took on this day. So if you want to look at those, I'll try and get a link to the PDF in the thing down below if I can. But really, I wanted to focus on the terrain sets, because when I first opened the the PDF, sorry, I thought this would be a really cool thing, because we'd have like sets of terrain that people could go out and acquire and say, like, this is a tournament standard set of terrain. You've got those really nice photographs which lays out all the terrain that you need to collect, but they're really very unobtainable. Okay, so the Octarius one is fairly obtainable, that's fair enough, but the Chalnath one contains 2 obscure out-of-print sets of sprue, and the Vertigo one contains that extra wall that you could obtain, but it's just really uneconomical to do so. So it's really strange. Obviously, Games Workshop, or rather the Warhammer World team, who are quite a separate little group within Games Workshop, have just picked stuff that looks cool. They work at headquarters, and they're kind of having a flex, I think, picking up all those statues and putting all the coolest bits on the table and getting them painted up. But for us playing at home or organising independent tournaments, it's not something that's going to be obtainable, even if you're minded to buy plastic Games Workshop terrain for all of your events. It's not even obtainable in that way. You can't just go out and buy it as a box. If they released as a product for Chalnath, like those statue sprues and those ruined scramble terrain sprues, I would certainly go and buy that in a heartbeat, right? Because I've got the Chalnath box and I've got the Sisters terrain kit, you know, so I could make that Chalnath set. The Vertigo stuff, they couldn't even release it, like, because that extra wall that you don't have is on the sprue with the big buildings, like it's integral. Like you buy the box, the Fane thing, and you get the 2 big buildings and a low wall and a medium wall, and they're all sprued out together. So there's no way of even making that available to you. I also think, looking just at the Vertigus and the Octarius, they've both got this thing going on where they've both got 2 buildings with platforms, and then 2 big buildings without platforms, and then a collection of kind of lower wally stuff. And I wonder if the play experience on those is actually that different. I mean, there obviously are differences. Vertigus doesn't have the scramble terrain, and it doesn't have the annoying oil derrick rig thing. It has a nice, easy to use container instead. But I think that yeah, I don't think they'll be that different as compared to, say, the Chalnath board would be a very different experience with all that heavy cover and all that vertical height. I don't know whether it will be a better experience, but it will be a different experience. It's worth saying that in the 30 table layouts that they've done, it's not evenly distributed. There are far fewer Chalnath boards, so they do come up kind of at random. The last thing I wanted to just hit on before I close out the video is Games Workshop telling us to use more terrain. Because I don't know about you guys, for the longest time I assumed, well, one set of Octarius terrain is a perfect amount of terrain for Kill Team, and one set of Chalnath terrain must be supposed to be a perfect amount of terrain for Kill Team, and then for their own event they're adding in all these sorts of bits and making a board that's quite dense. So at least for those of us in the Games Workshop terrain meta, I know that the American scene have now got this Kill Team Open, Las Vegas Open set of terrain that's this totally different stuff and that plays quite differently and makes quite different things happen on the tabletop. So I guess I'm really talking to my fellow Brits here for whom the Games Workshop stuff is the Games Workshop tournament meta, like the official tournament meta, is more applicable. But even so, I don't think it's very useful to any of us mere mortals. And if you wanted to collect this terrain just to practice on it, like, you're going to really have to try. You're going to really have to go on eBay and look for some out-of-print sprues for those statues and things, which I'm sure are really expensive. And if you want the Vertigo stuff, you're going to have to buy a box and not use most of the box. So, but it is interesting in the abstract. Should we be putting more terrain on the table? Certainly getting the Octavia starter set and adding in those extra bits is doable for most people. You know, if you play Vet Guard, you're probably going to pick up the starter set anyway to get the second set of Guard. So just a thought there, really, to kind of ruminate on is should we be using more terrain? That's really it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope no one's too upset that I didn't go through the 30 terrain layouts. I thought about it, and then I thought that even I am not that tedious. So if you want those, I'll try and link them in the description, although it's an email attachment. So I'll see what I can do about that. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you haven't, like, all those things, comment, read the stuff down below, and I hope that you are having a great day, whatever you're doing. And cheerio, everybody.